The wolf tore free of Quinn's grip and charged straight toward the boys surrounding Jeremy. Before Quinn could even scream, Mason moved. "Ava, stop, now." Something powerful rolled through his voice, and the snarling animal froze instantly, lowering her head before him. Quinn stared at the man who had broken her heart 10 years ago, then at the wolf trembling in his arms like a frightened child. Mason had come to Pine Haven searching for his missing daughter. Quinn still had no idea just how close that daughter had been all along. Chapter 1. There comes a moment in nearly every parent's life when their child asks for a pet. It is almost as inevitable as scraped knees, unfinished homework, and negotiations over bedtime. Most parents are fortunate. Their children ask for hamsters that spend half the night running inside plastic wheels, or cats that sleep most of the day. Maybe, if the child is particularly ambitious, a puppy that destroys a few shoes before learning not to chew everything in sight. Quinn Davis was not that lucky. Her son wanted a wolf, not a dog that resembled a wolf, not some exotic hybrid with just enough wild blood to impress his classmates. An actual wolf pup, a predator. A wild animal that her 10-year-old son had somehow persuaded to follow him home. Obviously, Quinn should say no. What responsible mother allowed her child to keep an apex predator in his bedroom? Unfortunately, Jeremy had barely smiled since they moved to Pine Haven. And Quinn had absolutely no way of knowing that the wolf in her son's arms was actually a 9-year-old girl. In Quinn's defense, she was far too occupied thinking about fleas, ticks, rabies, and the possibility of losing several fingers. What she really should have worried about was the girl's father, an alpha who was already tracking his daughter's scent through miles of wilderness. A father who would do almost anything to reclaim his child. And every trail was leading him directly toward Quinn's front door. "Please, Mommy, can we keep her?" Quinn stared into Jeremy's hopeful eyes. Her son held the furry animal tightly against his chest, while the suspiciously calm creature stared back at Quinn with what almost looked like a deliberate plea for mercy. "She's really well behaved, Mom," Jeremy insisted. There was more excitement in his voice than Quinn had heard since they moved 3 months earlier. "She's quiet, she listens. She won't bother any of the guests. Baby?" Quinn folded her arms. "How did you think I wouldn't notice she was here?" Jeremy pouted. Quinn rolled her eyes. A mother's radar is better than military surveillance equipment, especially when her 10-year-old suddenly starts stealing food from the kitchen and whispering into his closet. "Well, you have to admit she's been really good," Jeremy argued, squeezing the animal closer. "She's already been here for 2 days." Quinn's eyebrows shot upward. "What?" Jeremy froze. "I mean, 2 hours. He cleared his throat and pushed his crooked glasses higher on his nose. "And you haven't heard her bark once, right? That's proof she's a really, really good dog." Quinn sighed and brushed her short brown hair away from her forehead. Jeremy was struggling. He never complained because Jeremy rarely complained about anything, but she knew her son. She noticed the quiet afternoons. She noticed how he never mentioned new friends. She noticed how much more withdrawn he'd become since starting school here. And Jeremy almost never asked her for anything. Quinn didn't dislike dogs. She had actually wanted one herself for years. There was only one problem. "Sweetheart, this isn't a dog." She crouched until she was level with the animal. Jeremy blinked at her. Then he looked at the creature in his arms. Then back at his mother. Quinn studied the pointed muzzle, thick sandy coat, and distinctly wild amber eyes. "I'm almost certain that's a wolf." Jeremy's expression fell. Quinn pointed toward the animal. "Where did you even find her?" "In the woods behind the playground. She was hurt." Jeremy carefully lifted one paw and revealed a small bandage wrapped around it. "I used the first aid kit from the bathroom." "Oh, honey." Quinn's irritation softened. "You can't bring wild animals home. They aren't pets. She could have parasites, diseases, who knows what else. I checked her for ticks. That isn't the point." "Please, Mom." Jeremy's voice cracked. "She needs me." The wolf looked directly at Quinn. Its amber eyes seemed enormous, sad, almost painfully intelligent. Then the animal lowered its head and released a soft whimper. Quinn stared. Was this wolf manipulating her? Because if so, it was working. Damn it, she muttered. The telephone downstairs suddenly rang, its shrill sound echoing through the old Victorian house. Quinn glanced toward the door. That'll be Meg. I'll be right back. But what about Fangs? Jeremy called. Quinn stopped. You named her Fangs? Jeremy shrugged. She has really good ones. Quinn closed her eyes briefly. She can stay tonight. Jeremy's face immediately lit up. Just tonight, Quinn warned. And tomorrow? I haven't decided. Quinn headed downstairs from their apartment on the top floor toward the inn below. The telephone continued ringing, and she could already hear Meg trying to calm somebody at the front desk. Quinn hurried through the hallway, passing framed postcards showing the mountains surrounding Pine Haven. Finally, Meg exclaimed when Quinn entered the lobby. Meg stood behind the old reception desk with the phone wedged between her shoulder and ear, while desperately clicking through the outdated reservation program. We have a double booking for room 3 this weekend. The system says the Andersons arrive Friday, but Mrs. Miller is on the phone claiming she already reserved it. Quinn reached for the receiver. Several minutes later, the booking disaster was solved. Quinn hung up and glanced at the stack of bills beside the computer. One crisis handled. Now I have my Jeremy crisis. Meg looked up. What Jeremy crisis? That kid's a saint. Unlike his mother? Exactly. Quinn glared at her. Well, your saint brought home a wolf pup. Meg's mouth dropped open. He brought home a what? A wolf pup. Please tell me you're not letting him keep it. Only tonight. Meg stared at Quinn as though she had announced she was opening a petting zoo filled with bears. Quinn, you cannot be serious. Wolves are dangerous. They're not appropriate for children, and they're definitely not appropriate for an inn. I know. Quinn rubbed her temple. But Jeremy's had such a difficult time since we moved. You should have seen his face. It was the first real smile I've seen from him in months. Buy him a Nintendo like every other parent. With what money? Quinn gestured toward the bills. At least the wolf was free. Meg groaned. Oh no, you're actually going to let him keep it. I haven't decided anything. Quinn paused. But for the record, she's really, really cute. Her gaze traveled around the front office. The vintage check-in counter she had restored herself. The hand-painted Pine Haven Inn sign. The antique key rack that once belonged to her great-aunt. She had spent 3 exhausting months turning the old family property into a functioning inn. After years of managing hotels for other people, this was supposed to be her chance to build something of her own. Instead, she was barely keeping the business alive. And now her son wanted to add a wolf. Quinn sighed. Of course he did. Chapter 2. Jeremy sat cross-legged on his bedroom floor, arranging strips of beef jerky beside his new friend. It's going to be okay, he whispered. Mom said you can stay tonight. Once she gets to know you, she'll probably let you stay forever. Fangs tilted her head and watched him. Jeremy smiled. You're a really good listener. That mattered more than he wanted to admit. Fangs never interrupted him. She didn't tell him to speak louder. She didn't laugh at his glasses. She didn't make him feel weird for being quiet. Suddenly, Fangs released a high-pitched yelp. The sound was almost human. Then she bolted across the room and disappeared into Jeremy's closet. Fangs? Jeremy stood. Rustling came from inside, then thumping. His heartbeat quickened. Was she hurt? Or was she about to make a mess all over his shoes? Jeremy slowly approached the closet. Hello? His voice came out embarrassingly high. He swallowed, gathered his courage, and pulled the door open. Then he stopped breathing. A girl sat inside the closet. She was wrapped in Jeremy's favorite blue sweater, clutching it around herself like a dress. A girl who absolutely had not been there a moment earlier. Jeremy did the only reasonable thing. He screamed. The girl screamed back. What are you doing in here? Jeremy demanded. Then another thought struck him. Where's Fangs? He pushed the door wider and searched behind his boots and raincoat. No wolf. Where is she? The strange girl bit her lip. She had messy red hair, almost the same shade as Fang's fur, freckles scattered across her cheeks and nose, and looked roughly Jeremy's age, perhaps a year younger. She left. What? Jeremy looked behind her again. Where? There was nowhere for a wolf to go. He looked at the girl, then the closet, then the girl again. Finally, she threw up her hands. Fine, you win. I'm Fangs. Jeremy blinked. You're what? I'm her, the wolf. She grimaced. Well, I'm not a boy. I was always a girl. I change forms, not genders. Jeremy's mouth fell open. You change forms? The girl pulled his sweater tighter. It's actually kind of embarrassing that you couldn't tell I was a female wolf. Don't they teach you anything at human school? Human school? Whatever you call it. She sighed. I can prove I'm Fangs. Yesterday you fed me beef jerky and saltine crackers. You said your mom would get angry if she knew you were stealing food from the kitchen. Jeremy's eyes widened. The girl pointed toward his nightstand. And you read me 3 chapters of that book where the kids find a magical wardrobe. Jeremy slowly glanced at his copy of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. No one else knew about that. He stared at her. Who are you? My real name is Eva. She extended one hand with surprising formality. Eva Keene. Jeremy shook it automatically. His brain still hadn't caught up. How? I'm a shifter. Eva climbed out of the closet and perched on the edge of his bed. Part human, part wolf. I can take either form. Why didn't you tell me? Jeremy remembered scratching behind her ears and suddenly felt extremely awkward. Eva rolled her eyes. Because I can't speak when I'm a wolf. Obviously. Then why didn't you just turn human earlier? Eva immediately looked uncomfortable. I've been having trouble shifting back. Why? What's wrong? Her head snapped up. Nothing is wrong. She lifted her chin. It's completely normal for shifters my age. I didn't mean... Jeremy stopped. There were more important questions. So you're a wolf and a person? Yes. Jeremy stared another second. Then his face broke into wonder. That is so cool. Eva's defensive expression disappeared. Right? Jeremy leaned forward eagerly. Can I become a shifter? No, you have to be born that way. What about getting bitten? In movies, someone gets bitten and becomes a werewolf. Eva looked at him as though he were especially slow. Yes, a bite could change you. Jeremy brightened. Then she continued. But you wouldn't survive it. His smile vanished. It would kill me? Yes. Jeremy swallowed. Eva noticed. Don't worry. I won't bite you. Ever. Ever. It's forbidden. By who? Our alpha. Jeremy nodded as though that explained everything. Then he frowned. What's an alpha? Eva stared at him. You don't know what an alpha is? No. The alpha leads the pack. He's the strongest and most powerful wolf. He protects everyone, makes the important decisions, and the pack follows his commands. You have a pack? Of course. Otherwise I'd be a rogue. Jeremy's imagination immediately filled with enormous wolves running together beneath the moon. And everybody has to listen to the alpha? Yes. Can he really control them? With his voice, if he needs to. Wow. Jeremy considered that. Is he nice? Eva blinked at him. He doesn't have to be nice. He's the alpha. Oh. She hesitated. Well, he tells pretty good bedtime stories. Jeremy stared. Your alpha reads bedtime stories? Not to everyone. Eva gave a small laugh. He does with me because he's my dad. Jeremy thought that was probably information she should have mentioned much earlier. But Jeremy didn't have an alpha. He barely had a father. So what did he know? Crap. He looked at Eva. You probably need to go home then. Eva shook her head immediately. Absolutely not. Why? My father is going to be furious that I ran away. I broke pack law. But you're his daughter. He's the alpha first. Her voice turned bitter. Dad second. Jeremy frowned. Is that why you left? Eva looked away. He was already disappointed, because I'm having trouble shifting back. Wolves my age should be better at it. That's not your fault. My best isn't good enough. You're not a bad shifter. Jeremy spoke with absolute certainty. You're amazing. I wish I could do what you can. Eva looked at him cautiously. You really mean that? Of course. Jeremy grinned. Can you show me? Eva straightened. Okay. She closed her eyes. Her face tightened with concentration. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the little girl vanished. A sandy-colored wolf pup sat where Eva had been. Jeremy's jaw dropped. Whoa. He leaned closer. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Eva gave a cheerful yip, her tail thumping against the bed. Oh my God. Mom is going to lose her mind when I tell her. Eva barked sharply. Then she backed away, shaking her head. Jeremy stopped. You don't want me to tell her? Another small whine. Why? Eva merely stared at him with those enormous amber eyes. Jeremy sighed. Fine. He held out his hand. It'll be our secret. Eva placed one paw against his palm. Jeremy smiled. For the first time since moving to Pine Haven, he didn't feel quite so alone. Chapter 3. We should take Fangs to a veterinarian today, Quinn said the following morning, as she poured milk over Jeremy's cereal. Make sure she's healthy. Jeremy's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. Fangs is a girl. Quinn leaned against the kitchen counter. That wasn't exactly the important part of what I said. Jeremy focused intensely on his cereal. Quinn watched him. Is everything okay at school? Jeremy looked up. Mom, it's Saturday. Quinn rolled her eyes. You know what I mean. Generally. How are things going? Fine. His eyes moved away. Quinn was about to press him when her alarm began beeping. She groaned. Breakfast service started in 15 minutes. I have to go downstairs. Want to bring your homework into the dining room? I should stay with Fangs. She'll be lonely. Jeremy reached down and scratched the wolf behind one ear. Quinn wanted to argue. Unfortunately, Mrs. Henderson from room 4 became genuinely terrifying if coffee wasn't ready precisely when she expected it. Fine. Quinn tied on her apron. But guilt followed her downstairs. Jeremy had friends in Portland. Not many, but enough. Here in Pine Haven, he seemed more isolated every week. When Quinn's grandmother Mabel died and left her the sprawling Victorian house where Quinn had spent much of her childhood, it felt like an answer to every problem she had. She could stop managing someone else's hotel. She could finally run a place of her own. She could build a future for herself and Jeremy. It had seemed like a miracle. Now Quinn sometimes wondered what that dream had cost her son. The dining room was already filling with weekend guests when Quinn carried out a tray of pancakes. She placed them on the buffet and began refilling coffee cups. Then a burst of unmistakably flirtatious laughter drifted from reception. Meg. Quinn glanced toward the front desk. Her friend stood talking to a tall man whose back was turned toward the dining room. Even from behind, there was something striking about him. Broad shoulders beneath an expensive jacket. Dark hair neatly cut at the nape. Perfect posture. The slight angle of his head while listening. Something about him tugged violently at Quinn's memory before she understood why. Her heart stumbled. She stepped closer with the coffee pot still in her hand. The man reached for a pen Meg offered him. Long fingers. Elegant. Strong. Quinn almost dropped the coffee. She set it down too hard on the nearest table. The clatter sounded distant, as though she were underwater. Number. It couldn't be. The man turned slightly to sign whatever form Meg had placed before him. Quinn saw his profile, and the room disappeared. Those hands. She knew those hands. She remembered them tracing patterns over her skin. She remembered how gentle they could be, how possessive. Her gaze moved helplessly to the sharp line of his jaw, his mouth. Memories struck her one after another. A kiss beneath the rain, his laughter beside her ear, the way his arms once made her believe nothing could touch her. Then his head turned. Their eyes met. Amber, gold flecks around the pupils. His eyes, the eyes that once looked at Quinn as if she'd somehow become the answer to every question in his life. His expression changed for only a fraction of a second. Surprise. Then the emotion disappeared behind careful control. But Quinn saw his shoulders tense. How dare he? Why did he get to look uncomfortable? He was the one who left. Quinn forced her feet forward. May I help you? She had no idea how her voice remained steady, because the man standing in her lobby after 10 years was Mason Keene. The man Quinn had once believed was the love of her life. The man she'd imagined marrying. The man whose family had apparently already arranged a different future for him, while Quinn was imagining one for the two of them. A future that did not include her. Quinn, Meg said brightly, apparently unaware that the atmosphere had turned poisonous. Mr. Keene wants a room. Meg looked far too excited. Quinn's teeth clenched. Unfortunately, we're completely booked. No, we're not, Meg said. Quinn shot her a look. Mason still hadn't spoken. He simply stared at Quinn. His eyebrows drew together. She hated that his eyes were more beautiful than she remembered. How long will you be staying, sir? Meg asked. Her eyelashes practically fluttered. Quinn wanted to scream that he was unavailable. Married. Dangerous. Not worth the heartbreak. Yet some humiliating part of her knew that if she could return to the past and know exactly how badly loving Mason would destroy her, she might still do it all again just to have those years with him. Sir? Meg prompted. How long? Indefinitely. It was the first word Mason spoke, and his eyes never left Quinn. Meg made a delighted sound. Quinn couldn't bear another second. Mason had left her. He had walked away from whatever remained of Quinn's heart, and afterward, desperate to forget him, she had thrown herself into a relationship with the first attractive man who wanted her. She got pregnant. Then he left too. Meg was still talking. I could show you around if you'd like, Quinn snapped. For crying out loud, Meg, stop flirting with him. He's married. Silence dropped across reception. Meg's smile vanished. Quinn saw red. Her friend was shamelessly flirting with Quinn's ex, while that same ex stood in Quinn's inn requesting a room, as though none of their history existed. It was absurd. Fine. Quinn faced Mason. Are you single? Mason blinked. I beg your pardon? My friend has a habit of liking unavailable men. Quinn? So please tell her you're married, and save everyone some time. Mason's mouth opened, then closed. Finally, he said, I'm not. Quinn exhaled. What? Still engaged? Well, See? Quinn turned triumphantly toward Meg. Widowed, Mason finished. Quinn froze. Every trace of victory vanished. His wife was dead. Mason's wife had died. And he still had never come back. He had never called, never written, never tried to find Quinn. Of course not. Maybe it had never truly been about the woman his family wanted him to marry. I'm sorry for your loss, Quinn muttered. She turned toward the kitchen. Mason moved so quickly that Quinn barely saw him. He had always been like that. One moment charming and calm, the next impossibly fast. His hands closed gently but firmly around her arms and turned her back toward him. Wait, Quinn. For the first time since arriving, Mason looked shaken. Quinn's pulse jumped. Let me go. He hesitated. Gold flickered through his amber irises. Quinn remembered seeing that strange brightness whenever his emotions became intense. I said let go of me, Mason. His hands fell away. Slowly. Reluctantly. I apologize. Quinn gave a bitter laugh. For what? Mason looked startled, then sad. He apparently had no answer. Quinn smiled without humor. Exactly. She walked away before he could see how badly her hands were shaking. Chapter 4. I'm going insane in this room. Eva paced across Jeremy's bedroom. My wolf is going to lose it. Jeremy looked up from his comic book. We could go to the park, maybe the mall too. Mom gave me $5. He pulled a backpack from beneath the bed. I'll bring clothes for you. Eva's entire face brightened. Really? Sure, it's Saturday. We can stay out most of the day. Jeremy packed jeans and a shirt small enough for Eva. She rushed toward the window, then stopped so abruptly that Jeremy noticed. What? He joined her. Eva pointed outside. A tall man in dark jeans and an expensive sweater was walking across the grounds behind the inn. Probably another guest, Jeremy said. Eva's voice dropped. He's not a guest. Jeremy looked at her. He's my alpha. His stomach tightened. You mean your dad? Eva nodded and stepped away from the window. He tracked me here. She whispered the next words. If he looks up, he might sense us watching him. Jeremy immediately ducked. His pulse hammered. Can he actually break through doors and stuff? If he wants. Eva said it far too calmly. Jeremy risked another look. The man outside was searching with an intensity that frightened him. Yet part of Jeremy couldn't help noticing something else. His own father had left before Jeremy was born. The man had never even cared enough to send a birthday card. Eva's father had crossed miles of wilderness searching for her. Maybe you should go to him, Jeremy said. He must be worried. Eva's eyes flashed. You don't understand alphas when they're angry. I ran away. That's against pack law. Wolves used to be banished for less. But he's your dad. He's alpha first and dad second. Eva glanced through the window again, then dropped instantly. Get down. He's coming closer. Jeremy crouched beside her. Images from his comic books raced through his mind. Walls exploding. Doors being torn from hinges. What do we do? If he's searching for you, we can't exactly walk outside. Eva frowned. Then determination replaced her fear. We can if we're careful. She pointed toward Jeremy. If he tries to take me, tell everyone I'm your wolf. He won't create a scene around humans. He's obsessed with keeping Shifter's secret. Jeremy swallowed. You should probably be Fangs then. Eva nodded. A moment later, the girl disappeared, and the sandy wolf pup stood in front of him. Jeremy took the leash. Stay close. They went downstairs. The inn was crowded with Saturday guests arriving and leaving. That helped. More humans meant witnesses. Jeremy tried to look casual as he reached the bottom of the staircase. Meg stood behind reception talking with a couple. His mother was nowhere nearby. Come on. Jeremy guided Eva toward the rear hallway. They almost reached the garden door. Then Eva stopped. Her fur rose. Outside the window, her father crouched near the ground, examining something. They retreated. Eva tugged Jeremy toward the laundry room. Good idea. The laundry room had a side entrance almost no guest ever used. Jeremy peeked through its small window. Eva's father had moved toward the front of the inn. Now, Jeremy eased open the door. They slipped outside and stayed close to the building. The tree line was only a short distance away. Jeremy could already imagine reaching it. Then a deep voice came from behind him. Excuse me. Jeremy froze. He turned slowly. Eva's father stood roughly 20 feet away. His amber eyes were locked on the wolf. That is an unusual dog, the man said. His tone sounded casual. His body didn't. Jeremy's mouth went dry. She's a husky mix. The man stepped closer. Eva pressed against Jeremy's leg. Don't come any closer, Jeremy blurted. She's scared of strangers. The man's gaze sharpened. What's her name? Fangs. He remembered Eva's instructions. Act as though she belonged to him. The man approached another step. Jeremy could finally see the emotion burning in his eyes. He extended one hand. Eva backed away and growled. And for a moment, the dangerous stranger looked heartbreakingly sad. "See?" Jeremy said. "Strangers." His voice cracked. Sweat gathered on his forehead. Eva's growl deepened. Then Jeremy heard something that made every hair on his arms rise. Her father growled back. "Ava." The name came low and certain. "Come here." Jeremy's stomach dropped. "Her name is Fangs." He moved slightly in front of Eva, despite how badly his knees shook. "She belongs to me." He had never been this scared. Not even when Tommy Wilson and his friends cornered him behind school. But Jeremy would not abandon Eva. Then he saw his mother on the back porch. She was standing on a ladder, and the ladder was wobbling. "Mom!" The ladder tipped. Eva's father turned. He saw Quinn falling. Then he moved. Jeremy barely saw anything except a blur. One instant, Mason stood near him. The next, he was across the yard, catching Quinn before she struck the ground. Jeremy stared. That was impossible. Eva tugged urgently at the leash. Jeremy understood. "Run." They bolted toward the trees. Chapter 5. Almost there. Quinn stretched from the top of the ladder. The porch light had been flickering for days and was beginning to drive her insane, especially during the evening wine hour when guests gathered outside. Another inch. Her fingertips nearly reached the bulb. The ladder shifted slightly. Quinn ignored it. Then Jeremy shouted, "Mom!" Quinn glanced toward the yard. Jeremy stood near the edge of the property with Fangs. And Mason. For one stupid second, Quinn forgot she was balancing on a ladder. She noticed Mason's face, remembered how his eyes used to crease when he laughed. Anger surged through her. She moved too quickly. The ladder slid. Her feet lost the rung. Then Quinn was falling. She gasped and prepared for the ground. Impact never came. Instead, powerful arms caught her. Quinn found herself pressed against a solid chest. She blinked. Amber eyes stared down at her. "Mason, what the hell? Are you hurt?" His voice was low, intimate, far too familiar. Quinn struggled to understand what had happened. "Where did you come from?" "The yard." She looked past him. He had been standing much farther away only seconds earlier. "But you were over there." Mason said nothing. Only then did Quinn realize he was still holding her. One arm supported her back. The other rested beneath her knees. The last time Mason had carried her this way, they had spent a weekend near the coast. He had carried her directly into the ocean, while she screamed and laughed and tried to escape him. Heat climbed her neck. "You can put me down." Mason carefully lowered her. His hands remained around her waist a fraction longer than necessary. "Are you hurt?" "Only my dignity." Quinn stepped away. "Where's Jeremy?" "He ran with his dog when you fell." Quinn scoffed. Typical child. Then she remembered how frightened Jeremy had looked. Her protective instincts immediately sharpened. "Why were you talking to my son?" Mason's expression changed. "Your son?" Something flashed across his face. Someone else might not have noticed. Quinn did. "Relax, he isn't yours." Mason visibly relaxed. That annoyed her even more. "And since he isn't, what exactly did you want with him?" "I apologize if I crossed a line." Mason straightened. "I was asking about his pet." He paused. "He's a brave boy." Quinn raised an eyebrow. People had described Jeremy as careful, anxious, mature, thoughtful. Nobody had ever used brave. "He defended that animal very fiercely," Mason continued. "It takes courage to stand your ground when you're frightened." "He did?" "Yes." Mason's voice softened. "You should be proud of him." Warmth bloomed in Quinn's chest. Then another part of his statement registered. "Wait." She narrowed her eyes. "Why did Jeremy have to stand his ground against you?" Mason looked uncomfortable. I thought his dog was my daughter. Quinn stared. Excuse me? Mason rubbed the back of his neck. I meant my daughter's dog. Quinn continued staring. So Mason had a daughter whose mother had died. Despite everything Quinn felt toward Mason, immediate sympathy rose for the child. Well, it isn't your daughter's dog, Quinn said. And technically it isn't a dog at all. It's a wolf. You don't say. Mason sounded suspiciously unsurprised. That probably explained why he was looking at Quinn like she had completely lost her mind. Meg had done the same thing. Fine. Maybe letting a 10-year-old keep a wolf was not Quinn's finest parenting decision. Still none of Mason's business. She's extremely well behaved. She is? Mason looked genuinely startled. Then quickly corrected himself. I mean, really? Quinn frowned. You aren't planning to call animal control, are you? No. Mason immediately raised both hands. I honestly mistook the wolf for my daughter's pet, nothing more. Something dark crossed his eyes. Pain. Gone almost immediately. Quinn's anger softened just enough for curiosity to slip through. Where is your daughter? Then she couldn't resist adding, still living with the cult? Mason flinched. My family isn't a cult, Quinn. From the outside, it certainly looked like one. Quinn remembered the Keene property. Families clustered together. Children educated at home. Everyone keeping outsiders at a distance. They seemed to enter town only in groups. You were always together. Nobody outside the family was allowed close. Your father controlled who people spoke to. Quinn's voice tightened. Who they married. You don't know what you're talking about. Of course I do. She glared at him. Your father decided who you were allowed to be with, and you obeyed him. Mason's face closed. I apologize. For what exactly? Quinn stepped closer. For arriving at my inn after 10 years as if nothing happened? Or for everything before that? For all of it. His answer was quiet. Quinn looked away. Is your daughter still there being prepared for whatever future your father decided for her? My father is dead. Quinn turned. What? I lead the family now. Old Mr. Keene had once seemed indestructible. His authority had been absolute. Mason used to speak about him with a strange mixture of loyalty, respect, and fear. He's gone? After what happened with Elliot, everything changed. Quinn's anger faded momentarily. What happened to your brother? Elliot had been the perfect older son, the heir, the one who could never disappoint their father. Mason looked away. He's gone too. The pain in those words was unmistakable. Quinn felt sympathy despite herself. Whatever happened had left scars. And to answer your question, Mason said, my daughter isn't with the family. He looked toward the woods. She ran away. Quinn's eyes widened. Oh my God. Is that why you're here? Mason nodded. You're searching for her? Yes. Is she in danger? No. He hesitated. She simply doesn't want to come home. The pain in his voice struck Quinn harder than expected. I'm sorry. She meant it. That must be horrible. I think I failed her. Quinn leaned against the porch railing. We all make mistakes. She stared toward the same trees. Jeremy hasn't been happy since we moved either. He doesn't have friends. He's quieter every day. Sometimes I wonder whether bringing him here was the right thing. You did what you believed was best for him. Did I? Quinn sighed. Or did I do what I wanted and convince myself it was also for him? Mason remained silent. You called Jeremy brave, Quinn continued. I worry he's too careful, too anxious. She hesitated. His father left before he was born. Sometimes I wonder if that's part of it. His father left? Mason's tone sharpened. Quinn looked at him. Yes. We were 19. Very original story. Boy gets girl pregnant. Boy disappears. He abandoned his child. Something dangerous flashed through Mason's eyes. Then he added, he abandoned you. Quinn's temper returned. He wasn't the first man to do that. Mason reacted as if she had struck him. That was different. Was it? At least Jeremy's father was honest about not wanting responsibility. I never lied about wanting you. Mason stepped toward her. Surely you know that. He was close now. Close enough that Quinn could see every golden fleck in his eyes. Quinn, don't. Her voice came sharp. Whatever you're about to say, don't. The younger Mason would have pushed. He would have argued until Quinn heard him. This Mason merely nodded and stepped away. Quinn exhaled. I should work. Her eyes moved toward the light. That bulb still needs changing. Allow me. Before she could object, Mason climbed the ladder. He moved with the same effortless precision Quinn remembered. Within seconds, the light was fixed. When he handed her the old bulb, their fingers brushed. Thank you. Quinn immediately stepped back. Mason's eyes remained on hers. Quinn, She turned away. The past was the past. She had an inn to run, a son to raise. A life that had survived without Mason Keene for 10 years. She would not tear open those wounds again. At least that was what she told herself. Chapter 6. Eva's face lit up the moment they reached the town park. After escaping her father, she and Jeremy had spent hours exploring Pine Haven. Eva wore Jeremy's spare clothes with his baseball cap pulled over her red hair. Everything fascinated her. The ice cream truck, the swings, the jungle gym, the children shouting across the playground. We don't have anything like this on Packland, Eva said. Jeremy stared. You've never used a swing? No. Seriously? My dad says playing with human children is dangerous. Jeremy grabbed her hand. Come on. He taught her how to swing. Eva laughed so loudly that several parents turned to look. Jeremy didn't care. Afterward, he took her to his favorite place in the park, a small pond where a vendor sold paper boats. I have $1 left, Jeremy said. That's enough. The vendor gave them 2 tiny boats. Jeremy and Eva crouched beside the water and watched them float away. They turned it into a race. Eva's boat drifted ahead. This is so much better than training, she said. Jeremy picked up a stone and skipped it across the pond. What kind of training? Shifting. Tracking. Fighting. Fighting. Future alphas have to be stronger and faster than everyone else. Eva watched her boat. That's basically all I do. Train. She gestured toward the playground. I never get to do this. Have fun? Exactly. Tell your dad you want a day off. Eva laughed. You don't tell an alpha what to do, even when he's your father? Especially then. For a while they watched their boats glide toward the other side. When shadows began lengthening, Jeremy checked the sky. We should go. Mom will worry. They returned to the inn. Behind some bushes, Eva shifted into Fangs again. They entered through the laundry room door. Most guests seemed to be out for dinner. The inn was unusually quiet. Jeremy and Fangs climbed to the apartment. Quinn sat at an easel near the living room window, completely absorbed in a painting. Hey, kiddo. She didn't look away from the canvas. Have fun? Eva stopped, her wolf eyes fixed on Quinn's painting. It showed the forest behind the inn in bold, vivid colors. I ordered pizza, Quinn said. It'll be here soon. Thought we could watch a movie. Awesome. Later, they sprawled across the couch with an empty pizza box on the coffee table. Eva barely blinked throughout the animated movie. Then the telephone rang. Quinn groaned. Mrs. Henderson's shower again. I'll be back. The moment Quinn disappeared downstairs, Eva shifted. She wrapped Jeremy's blanket around herself. Your mom is amazing. Jeremy paused the movie. What? She makes beautiful things. Eva glanced toward the easel. She's an artist. She always paints. Jeremy shrugged. She wanted to go to art school, but then she had me. Can I see more? I guess. Jeremy led her into the small spare bedroom Quinn used as a studio. Canvases leaned against walls. Easels stood near the window. Paintbrushes filled jars. Eva slowly turned in a circle. She touched the edges of several canvases as though they were treasures. Then she noticed a large portfolio against the wall. What's that? I don't know. Old stuff, probably. That was enough to make Eva immediately curious. She pulled it out. Eva. Jeremy sounded nervous. What? We're just appreciating art. She opened it. The first drawings showed landscapes and buildings. A few were sketches of Jeremy when he was younger. Then Eva gasped. She held up a pencil portrait. Jeremy's jaw dropped. The man in the drawing was unmistakable. That's my dad. Eva's eyes widened. That is absolutely my dad. They searched deeper. There were more. At least a dozen drawings. Mason smiling. Mason reading. Mason asleep. Mason laughing with his head thrown backward. Some were quick sketches. Others contained extraordinary detail. Jeremy stared at them. Why does Mom have all these pictures of your dad? Eva slowly looked at him. Jeremy. What? Your mom totally has a crush on him. No way. Yes way. Jeremy studied the drawings. He looks younger. It's him. Maybe they met before. Eva suddenly gasped. Oh my God. Jeremy looked up. What? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? That this is really awkward? Eva shook her head with exaggerated disappointment. My poor, simple human friend. She leaned closer. What if your mom dated my dad? Jeremy frowned. Why would they? Adult reasons. Who knows? Eva waved that aside. The important part is that if they're together, my dad has to let us see each other. Jeremy considered it. That might be true. And your mom is way better than the women the council keeps trying to make Dad marry. What's a council? Old men who think they know what's best for everybody. Eva sighed. They keep telling Dad he needs another heir because my mom died when I was a baby. Jeremy's expression softened. I'm sorry. Eva shrugged, but sadness crossed her face. I don't remember her. Then she brightened again. But if Dad is going to give me a new mom someday, I want somebody cool. She pointed toward the studio. Your mom is cool. Jeremy smiled. She lets me stay awake when I'm reading a really good book. And she swears. She swears a lot. Eva nodded approvingly. Perfect. Jeremy laughed. We have to get them together. He hesitated. No offense, but your dad is terrifying. He's not that bad. Eva defended him immediately. He makes amazing enchiladas. I love enchiladas. See? Eva jumped up. This is perfect. You get a dad, I get a mom, we both get enchiladas. Jeremy couldn't help smiling. But Mom doesn't seem to like him. We can fix that. You don't understand. Mom remembers grudges forever. She still refuses to eat at Denny's because they messed up her order 3 years ago. Eva thought deeply. We need to get them alone. In a romantic situation. What kind? Eva's eyes lit up. Trapped in an elevator. The inn doesn't have one. Running from danger and forced into a tiny closet? What danger? A bear. There aren't bears around here. I could pretend to be one. Jeremy simply stared at her. Eva sighed. Fine. Then she snapped her fingers. I've got it, she explained. Jeremy began shaking his head. That would never. He stopped. Actually, his mother would absolutely search the forest if she believed Jeremy had lost something important there. Jeremy slowly grinned. That might work. Eva grinned back. Chapter 7. Quinn swept her flashlight across the forest floor. His father's compass. She shoved aside another branch. And somehow you managed to lose it in the middle of the woods, Jeremy. The sun had nearly vanished behind the trees. Every shadow looked exactly like the one before it. The compass was one of the few possessions Jeremy had from the father he'd never known. His father had vanished from their lives and left only a small box behind. Quinn had saved the compass until Jeremy was old enough to keep it. When Jeremy burst into the kitchen earlier, panicking because he'd supposedly lost it while exploring with Fangs, Quinn had immediately asked Meg to cover dinner service. Some things mattered more than guests. Now Quinn was beginning to question the decision. Stupid forest. She turned slowly. Every tree looks the same. A branch snapped behind her. Quinn spun. Hello? She raised the flashlight like a weapon. A tall figure emerged between the trees. You shouldn't be out here alone. Quinn immediately recognized the voice. Relief came first, then annoyance. I'm not alone anymore, apparently. Mason stepped into the light. What are you doing here? I saw your son downstairs. He said you had gone into the forest. So you followed me? His mouth twitched. I thought you might need help. I don't. Quinn. She sighed. Fine. She lowered the flashlight. But only because I really need Jeremy's compass. Mason immediately began studying the ground. That familiar concentration returned. When Mason decided to solve something, he became almost impossible to distract. This way. He started right. Quinn followed. Did you just randomly choose a direction? I know these woods. Of course he did. They walked in silence. Quinn occasionally stumbled over roots. Mason moved like the forest floor had been designed for him. He had always been unnaturally sure-footed. They reached an enormous oak scarred by lightning. Mason finally spoke. I almost didn't recognize you when I checked in. Quinn scoffed. You haven't changed. Really? Same expensive clothes, same ridiculous posture, same... She stopped. Same presence. Same raw intensity. The sense of restrained power around him had fascinated Quinn when she was 19. It still did. Same what? Same ability to appear where nobody invited you. Mason laughed softly. I remember you once calling that one of my best qualities. Memory struck her. A rainy day in Portland. Quinn had argued with her roommate and stormed out. She wandered until she became completely lost. And somehow Mason found her. He always seemed able to find her. That was different. Her anger had softened despite herself. Mason looked as if he wanted to say something. Then his attention shifted. He crouched and pushed leaves aside. When he stood, a small brass compass rested in his palm. Found it. Quinn stared, then took it. Their fingers touched. Thank you. She slipped it safely into her pocket. Jeremy would be relieved. Sometimes he held that compass and stared at it, as if the father he never knew might somehow emerge from it, as if keeping one small object meant the man could still come back. It broke Quinn's heart. Tell me about him. Mason's request surprised her. Jeremy? Yes. They started back toward the inn. What do you want to know? Anything. Mason looked away. Does he put too much jam on toast? Is he afraid of clowns? Quinn opened her mouth to object to that particular accusation, but Mason continued. Does he sing badly and say everything that enters his mind? He's almost the opposite. Quinn smiled. Jeremy thinks before he does anything. He considers every possible outcome. She gave Mason a pointed look. You were never very good at that. You always knew what you wanted. Mason's gaze rested on her. And you never hesitated to chase it. They walked several steps. Quinn broke the silence. What about your daughter? What about her? Does she charm strangers and turn every head in the room without noticing? She gave him a bitter smile. Does she make people feel important and then disappear? Mason's expression shifted. Ava is fierce. There was unmistakable affection in his voice. Independent. She questions everything I say. A small smile appeared. She looks at people like she's evaluating whether they're worth her time. So nothing like her father. Mason laughed. The warm sound unexpectedly sent a shiver down Quinn's spine. She is braver than I was. His smile faded. She follows her heart without hesitation. Quinn heard what he didn't say. His daughter possessed a courage he believed he had lacked. You've always been better at that, Mason said. What? Living on your own terms. His eyes held hers. Consequences be damned. The remaining walk felt different. The silence was no longer hostile. When they reached the inn, warm kitchen light spilled over the porch. Quinn stopped. "Thank you for finding the compass." She touched her pocket. "It belonged to Jeremy's father. It means a lot to him." Mason moved a fraction closer. "I'm glad I could help." Moonlight caught the gold in his eyes, and suddenly Quinn remembered another night, another moon. Mason's hands holding her face, his voice telling her he'd never felt that way about anyone. Quinn. Her name still sounded dangerous in his voice. She knew she should enter the inn. She knew she should step away. Her body did neither. Mason raised one hand. His fingertips touched her cheek. Barely. His eyes searched hers. Quinn knew he was going to kiss her. Worse, she wanted him to. A part of herself she had buried a decade ago came alive with terrifying force. Then fear flashed across Mason's face. His hand dropped. He stepped back. "I'm sorry." The rejection hurt more than Quinn expected. Heat flooded her cheeks. Of course. Why would he kiss her? He had already chosen once. "It's not what you think," Mason said. "There are reasons. There are always reasons with you." Quinn's voice turned hard. "Always secrets. Always something you won't tell me." "Quinn." "Good night, Mason." She entered the inn before he could continue, before she did something stupid. She closed the door and leaned against it. How could he still affect her? After everything? Quinn pulled the compass from her pocket and gripped it. The embarrassment was easy to identify. The anger, too. The final emotion was one she did not want to name: longing. Chapter 8. They almost kissed. Eva paced excitedly across Jeremy's room. She wore one of Jeremy's shirts as a nightgown. Her wild red hair hung around her face. "I saw everything through the window." Jeremy sat on his bed, turning the recovered compass between his fingers. But they didn't kiss. Details. Your dad backed away. Eva dismissed that with one hand. They wanted to. That's what matters. Jeremy remembered his mother returning to the apartment. She had tried to seem normal, but her eyes had been distant. "You were right about the compass," he admitted. "That worked." "I told you." Eva dropped beside him. "But we need another plan." "Why?" "They're resisting." "Resisting what?" "Their feelings." Eva rolled her eyes. "Adults love making everything difficult. So what now?" "We get smarter." Eva grabbed paper and began writing ideas. Jeremy watched her. Hope slowly unfolded inside him. Maybe this ridiculous plan could work. Maybe his mother could be happy. Maybe someday Jeremy could have a father who actually wanted to stay. And Eva could have someone who let her be a child instead of an alpha's heir every minute of every day. For the first time, the idea of them becoming one family didn't seem completely impossible. Chapter 9. Life at Pine Haven Inn settled into a rhythm Quinn did not understand. Mostly because Mason Keene somehow became part of nearly every day. When the ancient coffee machine finally died during a packed breakfast service, Mason appeared with a toolbox and rolled up sleeves. "You always did break things when you're stressed." He crouched beside the machine. "I'm not stressed." Quinn took the screwdriver he handed her. "You're lying." She watched his hands work. That was a mistake. Her mind immediately supplied memories of those same hands against her skin. Around her waist. Tangled in her hair. Holding her while he kissed her, until coherent thought became impossible. Quinn looked away and exhaled slowly. Then the spring rain arrived. One afternoon, Quinn became trapped beneath the small garden gazebo while silver sheets of water blurred the entire property. Naturally, Mason was trapped there too. He stood close enough for Quinn to feel his body heat, but he didn't touch her. "Looks like we're stuck. We won't dissolve." Mason looked down. "Remember that storm in Portland?" Quinn's stomach tightened. She remembered everything, running through rain until both of them were soaked. Laughing as they escaped into a second-hand bookshop, Mason kissing her against a wall covered with antique maps. The two of them disappearing behind shelves where they had absolutely no business disappearing. No. The answer came much too quickly. Mason looked at her. Liar. Rain hammered the gazebo roof. Neither said another word. Every second felt stretched thin by memories neither was willing to discuss. Then the water heater failed. Because apparently the inn had declared war on Quinn. She stood in the basement glaring at the enormous tank, as if irritation alone might repair it. Footsteps descended the stairs. Quinn didn't turn. Let me guess. You were conveniently nearby. Mason arrived carrying a wrench and flashlight. Your inn has terrible luck. He set down his tools. Fortunately, I'm very useful. It wasn't only broken equipment. Mason started joining Quinn's morning walks. When firewood arrived, she found him carrying logs before she'd even asked for help. His sleeves would be pushed upward. His shirt would cling across his back. Quinn hated how attractive he was. She hated how easily he fit into her life. Most of all, she hated how natural it felt. One evening, she found Mason inside the library holding an old book. Her breath caught. Still reading Blake? Their eyes met. Neither moved. Quinn remembered reading poetry to him in bed years earlier, his fingers tracing patterns over her stomach while she whispered poems into the darkness. Blake had always been her favorite. Apparently Mason remembered. And while Quinn's personal life grew increasingly complicated, Jeremy seemed happier. He laughed more, talked more, especially whenever Fangs was nearby. One evening, Quinn paused outside his bedroom. Of course she'd want extra pepperoni, Jeremy was saying. Mom always forgets. Silence. Then Jeremy continued. No, I didn't tell him. Should I? Quinn frowned. He sounded like he was having a real conversation. She pressed her ear against the door. Nothing. Only Jeremy's voice. And the soft movement of paws. Later, Quinn mentioned it to Meg. Kids talk to pets. Meg shrugged. Forget the wolf. Can we discuss Mr. Brooding Eyes downstairs? No. He cannot stop looking at you. He can. He practically inhaled you during breakfast. He did not. Meg grinned. The tension between you two is thick enough to put on toast. Quinn muttered something obscene and returned to paperwork. That evening, she sat on the back porch painting the sunset. Her brushstrokes were less controlled than usual. Her thoughts were worse. Then the air changed. Quinn knew Mason was behind her without looking. You still paint. His voice came warm beside her ear. Some habits survive. He moved closer. It's beautiful. Quinn's grip tightened around the brush. Mason's presence made it difficult to breathe. Her body remembered far too much. His hands, his mouth, the way he used to say her name. Quinn! Meg's voice cut through the moment. Phone call. Mrs. Henderson. Quinn stood immediately. She left before she changed her mind about every sensible decision she'd made in the previous 10 years. The ache remained. The next morning, Quinn was cleaning the breakfast room when Mason approached holding something. Her stomach dropped. Her portfolio. The portfolio she kept beneath journals and tax documents in the bottom drawer of her studio desk. The one filled with sketches of Mason. Young Mason, sleeping, laughing, reading, occasionally shirtless. The version of him Quinn had apparently never managed to throw away. I found these in my room. Quinn's blood went cold. You weren't supposed to. I didn't know you still had them. He held up one drawing. This one. I'm reading on the balcony. Quinn snatched the folder. They're private. You kept them. It means nothing. It means something. Mason's voice stayed quiet. Why did you draw me so many times if... Oh, for God's sake, Mason. Quinn's temper snapped. As though you needed more proof that I loved you. He went still. Wasn't it obvious? Her voice shook. I loved you so much it terrified me. She swallowed. And then you left. Mason moved closer. What about now? Quinn couldn't answer. How do you feel now? Her heart thundered. Why does it matter? His hand rose. He cupped her cheek. It matters to me. Then Mason kissed her. There was no warning, no hesitation. 10 years of anger and longing collapsed between them. Quinn dropped the portfolio. Pages scattered across the floor. Her hands seized Mason's shirt, then his hair. His arms locked around her. His mouth moved over hers as though he had spent a decade starving. Maybe he had. Quinn kissed him back just as desperately. His lips moved along her jaw before returning to her mouth. It was reckless, messy, probably unforgivable, and Quinn wanted every second of it. Everything she had spent 10 years trying to forget came rushing back. She still loved the way he held her. She still wanted him. And whatever this was between them had only begun. Chapter 10. They kissed. Eva bounced on Jeremy's mattress. They actually kissed. Jeremy nearly dropped his comic. You saw them? No. Eva tapped her nose. I smelled it on Dad afterward. Jeremy stared. Shifter senses. She looked proud. He smelled like your mom's perfume and happiness. Happiness has a smell? Everything has a smell. Eva rolled her eyes. And Dad smelled exactly like someone who had just kissed the person he really, really likes. Jeremy wrinkled his nose. Gross. Then he grinned. But also awesome. They high-fived. Operation Parent Trap succeeded, Eva announced. The drawings were genius. Jeremy looked slightly guilty. Mom is going to kill me if she finds out we searched through her private stuff. She won't. How do you know? She's too busy kissing my dad. Both children dissolved into laughter and buried their faces in pillows to keep from being heard. Over the next several days, they watched their parents become hilariously terrible at hiding what was happening. Quinn and Mason's hands touched while passing coffee. Both adults suddenly found reasons to enter the storage room at the same time. Jeremy and Eva peeked around corners. They think they're being subtle, Eva whispered. Mason leaned close and said something that turned Quinn's cheeks pink. Jeremy covered his mouth to keep from laughing. Mom wore lipstick yesterday to take out the garbage. Eva stared. The garbage? Your dad was chopping wood. Eva nodded thoughtfully. Dad changed shirts 3 times before dinner. Seriously? He normally doesn't care. They escaped upstairs and laughed until their sides hurt. When they calmed, Jeremy's smile slowly faded. It's weird seeing Mom like this. Eva nodded. My dad smiled at breakfast. So? With teeth. Eva looked genuinely shocked. The pack wouldn't believe me. Jeremy picked at the corner of his comic book. Then a thought occurred. What happens when your dad goes home? Eva's expression changed. Will you go too? I don't know. For the first time, their victory felt temporary. Jeremy swallowed. Maybe they'll really fall in love. Eva immediately brightened. And then we'd all stay together. Maybe. My dad might even thank me for running away. Jeremy gave her a doubtful look. Eva sighed. Fine. He'll still ground me. She considered. Maybe for less time. Then she grinned. Besides, I found him a mate. That's important for an alpha. And I found Mom someone who makes her happy, Jeremy said. Someone who won't leave. Eva nodded. Then her eyes moved toward Jeremy's face. Your glasses. Jeremy touched the frame. One side was held together with transparent tape. What about them? They're broken again. Eva moved closer. That's the second time this week. It's nothing. Jeremy stared at the comic. I got bumped in gym. Eva's eyes narrowed. You're lying. Jeremy looked offended. How do you know? I can smell it. That's cheating. You can't use shifter powers to detect lies. I absolutely can when you're hiding something. Her voice softened. Jeremy, what happened? He sighed. Some boys at school. Eva immediately stiffened. They broke your glasses? It's not important. On purpose? Shh. Jeremy checked the door. It happens. It shouldn't. Anger flashed in Eva's eyes. Who? Tommy Wilson and his friends. Jeremy shrugged. They bully lots of people. Why haven't you told your mom? She'll go to the principal. Then everyone will know I told, and it'll get worse. He adjusted the tape. Besides, she's happy right now. I don't want to ruin it. A growl came from Eva. Not metaphorical. An actual wolf growl. This isn't right. I'm not a shifter, Eva. You don't need to be. In your pack, maybe nobody would treat you like that. Exactly. But I'm not in a pack. Eva stared at him. You are now. Jeremy blinked. What? You're my pack. She said it with absolute conviction. Pack protects each other. I am? Of course. Eva sounded surprised that he even had to ask. Being pack isn't only about being a shifter, it's loyalty, trust, protecting each other. Jeremy's throat tightened. I've never been part of anyone's pack. You are now. Eva reached for his hand. You aren't alone anymore. Jeremy squeezed her fingers. All his life, it had been him and Quinn against everything else. Now there was Eva. Maybe that was what having a pack meant. Maybe it was what having a bigger family felt like. Chapter 11. Warm afternoon light filtered through Quinn's bedroom curtains. Her head rested against Mason's chest. She listened to his heartbeat beneath her ear. I missed this. He kissed her forehead. Quinn laughed softly. You saw me this morning. And last night. And yesterday afternoon in the supply closet. You know what I mean. She did. It wasn't merely the stolen kisses of the past few weeks. It was the decade between them. The time they'd lost. The life they might have lived. Quinn propped herself onto one elbow and studied Mason. For once, his face seemed peaceful. Some invisible burden had eased. That made Quinn brave enough to finally ask, Why did you leave? His expression changed. She continued. Really, Mason, what happened? He stared at the ceiling. My family was in crisis. They needed me. Was it because of Elliot? His entire body tightened. Yes. Quinn waited. Mason said nothing more. Frustration rose. Always secrets. Always walls. She almost snapped at him. Then she saw his face. The pain there stopped her. Whatever Mason was hiding hurt him deeply. For once, Quinn chose patience. She took his hand. You don't have to tell me everything today. Her fingers threaded between his. But I wish you'd let me help you then. She squeezed gently, and I want to be there now. Mason looked at her. Gratitude mixed with anguish. I know. He lifted their joined hands and kissed her knuckles. I'm sorry. I want to tell you everything. He stopped. Fear crossed his face. Quinn frowned. What are you afraid of? Mason answered almost immediately. Myself. His voice was hollow. Quinn stared. What does that mean? He shook his head. The distress in his face made her chest ache. She didn't understand his demons, but they were real to him. Then promise me something. Anything. Don't leave again. Mason's eyes locked onto hers. Not like before. Don't disappear without explaining. I promise. Even when your daughter comes home? Yes. He gave a faint smile. Whenever that is. Quinn watched him carefully. Any news? Not exactly. Mason appeared strangely calm. But I know where she is. Quinn frowned. You do? I know she's safe. A softness entered his expression. And she seems happy. That is good. Something about his certainty was odd, but Quinn let it go. Thank you, Mason said. For what? His amber eyes warmed. For more than you realize. Quinn glanced toward the clock. She reluctantly sat up. I need to go. Where? I thought I'd surprise Jeremy and pick him up from school. She didn't explain the full reason. The broken glasses had bothered her. So did Jeremy's habit of changing the subject whenever she asked about school. Quinn dressed. Mason watched her. Then she made a decision. Come with me. His eyebrows rose. You want me to meet your son? You've already met him. That was different. For one of the few times Quinn could remember, Mason Keene looked nervous. The vulnerability was adorable. She smiled. We can get ice cream afterward. A slow smile spread over his face. Yes. Good. Quinn reached for her shoes. We'll take Fangs too. Mason's expression did something strange. Don't worry, she's been very good around you lately. She'd better be. Quinn looked at him. What? Nothing. Mason climbed from the bed. Later, Quinn and Mason walked toward the elementary school with Fangs trotting between them. Quinn noticed how carefully Mason watched the wolf, almost like a protective parent. Fangs behaved unusually well around him. Too well. She barely pulled at the leash. She didn't wander. It almost seemed as though she was afraid of getting in trouble. The school is around the corner. Quinn's stomach fluttered. Jeremy's opinion mattered. More than anyone's. Her son would always come first. If Jeremy disliked Mason, then Mason would have to earn his trust. Still, Quinn desperately wanted them to connect. She wanted Jeremy to understand that something was changing, something that could be good. Fangs suddenly stopped. Her ears lifted. The wolf stared toward the school. What is it? Quinn tightened her grip on the leash. Mason frowned. I don't know. Fangs whined. Her body became tense. She pawed at the pavement. I've never seen her act this way. Quinn struggled against the leash as the animal began pulling. Something's wrong, Mason said. Then Fangs bolted. The leash ripped from Quinn's hand. Mason's face changed. Eva, no. Quinn barely registered the unfamiliar name. She and Mason ran after the wolf. Fangs raced around the side of the building. Quinn followed. Then her heart stopped. Jeremy stood against a wall. 3 larger boys surrounded him. One boy with a buzz cut held Jeremy's glasses above his head. Give them back, Tommy, Jeremy said. His voice remained steady, but Quinn saw his fear. Make me, 4 Eyes. The boy laughed. Oh, right. You can't even see without them. Fangs reached them first. The wolf launched herself at Tommy. He screamed as she knocked him onto his back. Fangs stood over him, teeth bared, fur raised. A vicious growl vibrated from her chest. Fangs! Jeremy shouted. No! She ignored him. Quinn's blood turned cold. Then Mason stepped forward. Ava. His voice changed. Power filled it. Stop, now. The wolf immediately backed away. Her head lowered. Quinn froze. Mason grabbed Fangs gently by the scruff. His face had gone almost white. How could you? His voice was low and furious. I taught you better. He stared into the wolf's eyes. That boy is human. Fangs whimpered. Do you understand what could have happened if I hadn't been here? Quinn stared. This wasn't a man scolding an animal. It looked like a father reprimanding a child. Mason? He didn't appear to hear her. His hands were shaking. He lifted Fangs into his arms. Terror, not anger, filled his face. Quinn forced herself toward Jeremy. Are you hurt? She checked his arms and face. I'm fine, Mom. His voice trembled. It wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal. Quinn turned toward Tommy. The boy scrambled upright. Quinn wanted to shake him. Instead, because she was still an adult, she forced herself to ask, Are you hurt? Tommy shook his head rapidly. Jeremy's broken glasses remained in his fist. Quinn extended her hand. Give me those. He surrendered them immediately. Then he and his friends backed away. Quinn turned. Mason still held Fangs. The wolf was strangely limp in his arms. Mason. No response. What happened? His expression was devastated. What did you call her? Mason stepped backward. This was a mistake. Quinn's stomach dropped. I'm sorry, Quinn. What? He turned. Mason, wait. He carried Fangs toward the parking lot. Where are you going? He didn't answer. He placed Fangs inside a black SUV Quinn had never seen before and climbed in. Mason. The engine started. Then the vehicle disappeared. Quinn remained in the schoolyard holding Jeremy's broken glasses. Her heart broke for the second time. Mom? Jeremy's voice sounded small. What just happened? Quinn wrapped her arms around him. I don't know. She watched the SUV vanish around the corner. But I have a terrible feeling. Chapter 12. Eva had been home for one day. One miserable day. Pack members whispered whenever she passed. People gave her sideways looks. Her father had barely spoken. A tear rolled down Eva's cheek. Then another. This was exactly why she'd run away. At Pine Haven Inn, nobody judged her because her shifting wasn't perfect. Jeremy didn't care about pack politics. Quinn didn't expect her to behave like a future alpha. She had simply been Eva. A knock sounded. Eva wiped her face. Eva? Her father's voice was cautious. Nothing like the command he'd used at the school. Go away. She didn't say it loudly enough to stop him. The door opened. Mason entered. He looked terrible. Dark shadows lined his eyes. His usually immaculate clothes were wrinkled. His hair was disordered. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. He approached but didn't sit. I needed time. Eva turned toward the window. Whatever. I also owe you an apology for taking you away the way I did. Mason rubbed his hair. When I saw you attack that boy, I thought I had no choice. I wasn't going to hurt him. Eva turned sharply. You don't know that. His voice hardened. You weren't in control. I was. Mason's expression darkened. So you're telling me you deliberately attacked a human? Eva's anger rose. Do you understand what you're saying? Mason demanded. Have you forgotten the punishment for attacking humans? He deserved it. Eva jumped to her feet. He was hurting Jeremy. Mason stopped. Eva continued. He broke Jeremy's glasses. He was humiliating him. Her father's jaw worked. Eva saw conflict in his eyes. The alpha and the father fighting each other. You agree with me. Her voice broke. You know I had to defend him. Mason inhaled. I understand why you wanted to protect Jeremy. He chose each word carefully. But shifters have advantages humans don't. Using those abilities against them is not fair. Eva looked down. And more importantly, exposing what we are endangers every member of our pack. She knew he wasn't entirely wrong. I only wanted to frighten him. Her voice became quiet. I would never have really hurt him. Even so. Mason's next words landed like stones. You cannot see Jeremy anymore. Eva's head snapped up. What? He's my best friend. Then do what is safest for him. But humans are fragile, Eva. Anger flashed through her again. What about Quinn? Mason froze. Eva watched him. I know you like her. She crossed her arms. I saw you kissing. Mason closed his eyes. You saw that? Obviously. He sat on the edge of the bed. It is wonderful that you made a friend. His shoulders sagged. And seeing Quinn again was... He couldn't finish. Then he said, We can't be together. Eva stared. That's ridiculous. Eva. Fine. It's crap. Mason gave her a warning look. We were happy there. Eva's voice broke. Why can't we go back? They probably miss us. She tried a weak smile. At least they miss me. Mason looked far away. Then something in him changed. There is something you need to understand. Eva sat beside him. Mason stared at his hands. I wasn't supposed to become alpha. She waited. Your Uncle Elliot was first born. Mason's voice grew distant. He was the heir. He spent his entire childhood preparing to lead. Eva knew that much. Elliot was everything an alpha was supposed to be. Mason swallowed. Strong, disciplined, controlled. Pain roughened his voice. I worshipped him when we were young. He paused. Eva barely breathed. When we were in our early 20s, Elliot became friends with a woman from town. A human? Yes. Her name was Claire. Mason looked toward the floor. He never told our father. Friendships with humans were forbidden. Eva shifted closer. One night, Elliot and I were running in the forest. Mason's jaw tightened. We heard a woman screaming. Eva's stomach twisted. It was Claire. His voice became hollow. Several drunk men had attacked her. They were holding her down. He stopped. Eva understood enough. Mason continued quietly. Elliot lost control. Her father's eyes looked haunted. He shifted completely in front of them. Eva went still. He attacked the leader. Mason swallowed. One bite to the throat. Eva covered her mouth. The man died before I could pull Elliot away. What about the others? They ran. Mason stared at his hands. They saw everything. Oh my God. We returned home and told father. Mason's breathing changed. The council was called. And then? Eva whispered. Mason looked at her. Elliot could never become alpha after that. His voice failed. Eva felt fear. Where is Uncle Elliot now? Mason didn't answer. Was he banished? A small shake of his head. Dad? Eva's voice grew urgent. Where is he? Mason finally spoke. He's dead. Eva's breath caught. He was executed. She stared. A human life had been taken. Mason's voice sounded empty. Our law allows only one punishment. Tears filled Eva's eyes. That isn't fair. My father never recovered, Mason continued. Your grandfather died not long afterward. He looked toward her. And suddenly I was alpha. Eva's chest hurt. Not because I wanted the position, not because I was prepared. He gave a bitter laugh. There was simply nobody else. Eva threw her arms around him. Mason held her. He was trembling. I'm sorry, Dad. I never wanted you carrying this. He pressed his face against her hair. I wanted to protect you. From what? Eva pulled back. The weight of everything that happened. Mason touched her cheek. Elliot was the most controlled person I ever knew. His voice lowered. And even he lost control. Eva finally understood. That's why you're so hard on me. Yes. And that's why you left Quinn. Mason went still, then nodded. When Elliot died and I became alpha, I couldn't stay with her. His eyes closed. What if I lost control around Quinn? What if I hurt her? His gaze returned to Eva. Then your mother came into my life. And after she died, I still couldn't risk exposing you to humans. He looked exhausted. I couldn't let history repeat itself. But I would never. You already did. Mason's tone was gentle now. At school. Eva looked away. You saw Jeremy being harmed and lost control. I wasn't going to hurt Tommy. Maybe. Mason sighed. But the possibility was there. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I will always protect you first. His voice strengthened. Even if I have to protect you from your own mistakes. Eva leaned against him. For the first time, she understood the fear she had seen at school. Her father hadn't looked at her with disappointment. He had been terrified. Terrified that his daughter might repeat the tragedy that destroyed his brother and father. So I'm grounded. Mason almost smiled. For running away? Absolutely. For how long? A very long time. Eva hesitated. And Jeremy? Mason's arm tightened. It's better if we stay away. And Quinn? For their safety. That answer hurt. But now Eva understood why he believed it. As darkness settled around the pack house, she curled against her father. She knew he loved her. She knew he was afraid. Yet her room felt painfully empty. She missed Jeremy asking endless questions. She missed Quinn checking whether they'd eaten. She missed the inn's creaking floors. the smell of coffee in the morning, Jeremy reading comics aloud. She missed being accepted without expectations. Not the alpha's daughter, not the future leader, just Eva. And now she understood why going back felt impossible. It wasn't only about rules. It was about protecting Jeremy, protecting Quinn, protecting Mason, protecting a family that had already lost too much. Chapter 13. 1 week. Eva and Mason had been gone for an entire week. Jeremy hated every day of it. No secret conversations, no adventures, no best friend. No feeling that he'd finally found somewhere he belonged. Almost worse was watching Quinn pretend nothing was wrong. His mother smiled too much, laughed too loudly, never mentioned Mason, never mentioned Fangs. Jeremy knew. He heard her crying at night when she believed he was asleep. Late one night, Jeremy crept into the hallway. Light came from Quinn's studio. The door stood slightly open. He peeked inside. Quinn sat on the floor holding a photograph Jeremy had never seen. "Mom?" She jumped and quickly wiped her face. "Hey!" Her smile came too fast. "What are you doing awake? Couldn't sleep." Jeremy sat beside her. He looked at the photograph. "Is that Mason?" Quinn studied it. For a moment Jeremy expected her to lie. Instead, she handed it over. A long time ago. Jeremy examined the picture. His mother looked younger. Her hair was longer. Her smile was brighter. She looked lighter somehow. Mason looked different too. Less tired. Less burdened. "You loved him." Quinn sighed. She began gathering several sketches. "You know what's strange?" Jeremy waited. "When he came back, I hated him." She smiled sadly. "Or thought I did." Quinn looked at the photograph. "Then somehow I started forgiving him." Her voice dropped. "I started thinking maybe we could try again." She shook her head. "I just wish I understood why he always runs." Guilt churned inside Jeremy. He knew. Mason was a shifter. But Jeremy had promised Eva. "I'm sorry, Mom." Quinn looked at him. Her expression softened. "Oh, baby." She wrapped him in her arms. "I've been so wrapped up in my own problems that I haven't asked how you are." She stroked his hair. "You must miss Fangs." Jeremy swallowed. "Maybe we could find another dog." "No." The word came too sharply. Jeremy pulled away slightly. "I don't want another dog." Quinn kissed his forehead. "Okay." She stood. "Come on, it's late." Jeremy returned to bed, but sleep didn't come. His room felt too large without Eva. Quinn's bedroom probably felt the same without Mason. Jeremy stared into darkness. There had to be some way to bring them back, some way to remove the danger between humans and shifters. If only, the thought repeated. Eventually, Jeremy needed the bathroom. He climbed out of bed and quietly crossed the hallway. He turned the bathroom doorknob. Then everything changed. A strange sensation rushed across his skin, like static electricity. Jeremy blinked. Bright daylight struck his eyes. He gasped. The bathroom was gone. Jeremy stood in a narrow aisle between towering bookshelves. Sunlight streamed through enormous windows. Dust floated over worn wooden floors. "Hello?" His voice sounded tiny. Nothing answered. "This is a dream." Jeremy touched one shelf. Dust coated his fingertips. It felt real. Much too real. A faint creak sounded somewhere ahead. Jeremy moved toward a warm glow. He rounded a shelf. A young woman sat on top of a desk reading a magazine. Strawberry blonde hair was piled into a messy bun. One ear was lined with piercings. Excuse me?" she screamed. The magazine flew through the air. Jeremy jumped backward. "Sorry." He raised both hands. "I didn't mean to scare you." The woman clutched her chest. "How did you get in here?" "I don't know." Jeremy glanced behind him. "I opened my bathroom door." Her annoyance shifted toward interest. "Well," she studied him. "Life finds a way." Jeremy stared blankly. Jurassic Park. She pointed toward his pajamas. Thought you were a fan. Jeremy looked down at the dinosaur on his shirt. Oh. He blushed. These used to be my mom's. A deep male voice came from behind the shelves. Iris, did you break something again? Jeremy turned. An impossibly tall, thin man entered. Copper-colored hair stuck out in several directions. His eyes were an unnatural green. Jeremy shivered. The man looked at him. Who's this? A client, Iris said. One who has apparently never watched Jurassic Park. What is Jurassic Park? The man's question horrified Iris. Okay, the child is 8. I forgive him. I'm 10, Jeremy interrupted. She ignored him. But you have no excuse. The man looked toward Jeremy. Name? Jeremy Davis. Good. He pointed to himself. Good. He pointed to himself. Adrian. Then toward Iris. Iris. He nodded once. Now you may leave. Jeremy stared. Where? I don't know where I am. Adrian slowly looked at Iris. Iris shrugged. He's wearing pajamas. Obviously he didn't enter normally. Adrian rubbed his eyes. Iris hopped off the desk. Okay, kid. Here's the simple version. She gestured around them. Magic shop. Jeremy's fear briefly vanished beneath curiosity. Magic? Adrian practices it. What kind? Wishes, Adrian answered. Jeremy stared. You grant wishes? Yes. Any wish? Within limits. Adrian walked closer. The shop is simply where people find me. How did I get here? You desired something. Jeremy frowned. I didn't wish to come to a bookstore. No. Adrian's green eyes seemed to see straight through him. You wanted a solution to something you couldn't solve by normal means. Jeremy thought of Eva, Mason. Quinn crying in her studio. Can you really grant wishes? There are rules. Adrian's tone became serious. And consequences. He means a price. Iris folded her arms. A huge one. Adrian gave her a look. She continued anyway. He takes what matters most to you. Iris. What? She looked at Jeremy. He should know. Jeremy's stomach tightened. Adrian sighed. She's correct. So if I wished for $1 million, you would lose something precious. Usually not money, Iris added. Something tragic. Your memories. Your ability to love. Something like that. Iris. I'm helping. She pointed toward Jeremy. Think very carefully before making a wish. Then she added, actually, don't make one. Go home. Jeremy looked down. I want Eva back. Adrian's expression softened slightly. And her dad. Jeremy continued. I want my mom happy again. A family problem. Iris glanced at Adrian. You figured that out from 2 sentences? Adrian almost smiled. Mason is Eva's father, Jeremy explained. He left because he's scared. Therapy, Iris suggested. Adults love therapy. Jeremy shook his head. He's a werewolf. Silence. And Mom is human. Adrian and Iris exchanged a look. Mason thinks being together is too dangerous. Adrian nodded slowly. He isn't entirely wrong. Jeremy frowned. Humans and shifters rarely mix safely. But they love each other. Jeremy's voice rose. And Eva is my best friend. That's nice. Adrian's response was remarkably flat. But living near shifters could kill you. Jeremy remembered Eva explaining bites. Then an idea struck him. Could I wish to become a shifter? Adrian's posture changed. Jeremy continued quickly. Me and Mom. The room became very still. You could. Adrian sounded reluctant. But I strongly advise against it. Why? Because I would still take what you value most. Iris leaned closer. Couldn't your mom just date another single dad? Jeremy shook his head. No. There are plenty of... No. He looked directly at Iris. She has loved Mason forever. He swallowed. It's true love. Iris's expression shifted. Jeremy asked, "Would you give up your true love?" She cleared her throat. Jeremy turned toward Adrian. "And there's only one Eva." Determination settled through him. Adrian studied Jeremy. Then the magician crouched until they were eye to eye. "All right." Iris inhaled sharply. "Adrian." He lifted one hand. "It's fine." He looked into Jeremy's eyes. "I will tell you the price before you choose." Jeremy's mouth went dry. "What you value most, Jeremy Davis." Adrian paused. "Is the hope that someday you might meet your father." Jeremy froze. His father. The person who had never existed as more than a shadow in his imagination. He left before I was born. "Yes." Adrian's glowing green eyes didn't move. "But part of you has always believed he might return someday." Jeremy said nothing. "If you make this wish, that possibility disappears forever." Jeremy swallowed. He hadn't expected those words to hurt. His father had never held him, never called, never sent a birthday card. And still, somewhere inside Jeremy, there had been a tiny hope. Maybe one day the man would knock on the door. Maybe he would explain. Maybe he would want Jeremy. Then Eva's face entered his mind, her wild grin, Quinn's arms around him, Mason making his mother smile. The strange, wonderful days when the four of them had almost become a family. Jeremy looked at Adrian. "I want the wish." Iris stared at him. Jeremy's voice steadied. "I don't need a father who doesn't want me." He thought of Quinn. "I need my mom to be happy." Then Eva. "I want a real family." He lifted his chin. "One that loves us back." Adrian nodded. "I can change the effect of a shifter's bite on you and your mother." Jeremy listened. "If either of you chooses to receive one, the bite would transform you safely rather than kill you." Jeremy's eyes widened. "The same applies to both of us?" "Yes." "So we could become shifters?" "If you choose." Jeremy grinned. Adrian held up one finger. "But I recommend speaking to your mother first." Jeremy's smile faltered. "You should also make certain Quinn and Mason actually wish to rebuild their relationship. They do. You cannot know that." "I know." Jeremy inhaled, then spoke before he could lose his courage. "I wish that my mom and I could safely become wolf shifters if we ever choose to, so we can be with Eva and Mason." For several seconds nothing happened. Then Adrian closed his eyes. A shudder moved through his thin body. The shadows in the shop deepened. They seemed to curl around him. Jeremy stopped breathing. Adrian opened his eyes. Green light burned inside them. Chapter 14. Quinn woke to silence. Jeremy was already at school. The bed felt enormous. The side where Mason had slept was cold. Quinn pulled his pillow toward her and breathed in the fading scent that reminded her of pine and winter air. Grief tightened around her chest. Again and again, she replayed the schoolyard. Mason's terror. The way he had taken Fangs into his arms. The strange name he'd called her, Ava. The way he'd driven away without explaining. Something had frightened him. Not ordinary fear. Panic. Quinn stared at the ceiling. "What are you hiding?" Eventually she forced herself from bed. The mirror was unforgiving. Dark circles, tangled hair, exhaustion. Quinn washed her face and prepared to go downstairs. Then she opened the apartment door and stopped. Fangs sat directly outside. Morning light touched her sandy fur. The wolf stared at Quinn with those unnervingly intelligent eyes. Oh my God. Relief flooded through Quinn. Fangs. She dropped to her knees and hugged the animal. "You came back." Fang's tail moved cautiously. "Jeremy is going to be so happy." Quinn rubbed behind her ears. "He's at school right now." Fangs made a strange noise, not a growl, almost disagreement. Then she walked past Quinn into the apartment. "Hey." Quinn followed. I told you Jeremy isn't here. Fangs wasn't looking for him. She went directly into his bedroom. The closet opened. Something rustled. Quinn reached the doorway. Fangs, what are you doing? The wolf emerged carrying one of Jeremy's sweaters between her teeth. She stopped in front of Quinn. Their eyes met. Then the wolf disappeared. Quinn screamed. A little girl stood where Fangs had been. Wild red hair surrounded her face. She clutched Jeremy's oversized sweater around her body. The transformation had happened so quickly that Quinn's mind rejected what she'd seen. Please don't be scared. The girl raised both hands. Quinn backed away. You're not hallucinating, the child said. My name is Eva. Quinn's knees weakened. Eva? Her voice cracked. Mason's daughter? The girl nodded. Yes. Quinn slowly sank onto the floor. I'm losing my mind. You aren't. Eva sat cross-legged opposite her. Ask Jeremy when he gets home. Quinn stared. Jeremy knows you? Of course. Eva looked confused. I've been living here. Quinn pressed both hands against her forehead. You're telling me Fangs. She pointed weakly. Was you? Yes. A little girl. Yes. Who becomes a wolf? Yes. And Jeremy knew this the entire time. Eva nodded. Quinn stared at her. Every strange moment returned. Fangs listening too closely. Fangs seeming to understand conversations. Jeremy talking behind closed doors. The wolf's attachment to her son. My dad said staying with you was dangerous. Eva's expression became serious. I promised I wouldn't come back. She looked down. But I needed to say goodbye properly. Goodbye? And thank you. Quinn was still dazed. For what? For letting me stay. Eva's voice began trembling. For being kind to me. Her eyes filled. For making me feel like maybe I could have a real mom. Quinn's heart broke. I would have liked you to be my mom. A tear rolled down Eva's cheek. And your paintings are beautiful. She gave a tiny smile. Maybe in another life you could have taught me. That was enough. Shock surrendered to instinct. Quinn reached forward and pulled Eva into her arms. The little girl clung to her. It's okay. Quinn stroked her hair. It's okay. Eva cried until the sobs faded. Then Quinn finally asked the question spinning through her mind. Does Mason know? Eva wiped her face. Know what? That you. Quinn gestured helplessly. Turn into a wolf. Oh. Eva nodded. Yes. Then she bit her lip. He does it too. Quinn's world tilted. What? My dad is a shifter. Eva looked nervous. Please don't tell him I told you. He'll be really angry. Quinn could barely process the words. Mason, the man she'd loved. The man who had kissed her, held her, left her twice. Mason could turn into a wolf. So you really were Fangs? Quinn asked. All this time? Eva nodded. But why is being around us dangerous? Eva's expression changed. If a shifter bites a human. She hesitated. The human dies. Quinn went still. That happened with Uncle Elliot. Mason's brother. Quinn remembered the pain in Mason's face whenever the name came up. Eva explained quietly. Elliot attacked a human while protecting someone. She looked toward the floor. The human died. Quinn's chest tightened. The pack executed Elliot. She covered her mouth. My grandfather died afterward. Eva continued. And Dad had to become Alpha. Quinn's heart stopped. Alpha? The pack leader. Eva looked at her. That's why Dad left you. Every piece snapped into place. Mason's family hadn't simply chosen another woman. His brother had died. His father had died. Mason had inherited leadership of an entire hidden society. And the tragedy that forced him into power had involved a shifter killing a human. But he didn't want to leave you. Eva moved closer. He loves you. Her voice softened. He's been unhappy without you for years. Quinn struggled to breathe. Werewolves. Executions. Pack law. Magic hidden inside the ordinary world she'd known her entire life. It was impossible. Yet suddenly Mason made sense. The fear, the secrets, the invisible burden. The way he'd drawn close to Quinn and then abruptly retreated. For 10 years, Quinn had carried anger toward a man she believed had simply chosen his family over her. Now that anger shifted. Not vanished, but changed. There was grief beneath it, understanding, a sorrow for everything both of them had lost. Quinn pulled Eva close again. I want to say goodbye to your father, too. Eva sniffed. You do? Yes. Quinn stood. I'll take you home. Eva looked worried. You promise you won't tell him I told you? I promise. They were preparing to leave when someone knocked. Quinn opened the door. Mason stood outside. His amber eyes widened. Jeremy stood beside him. He looked nervous and determined. For several seconds, nobody moved. Quinn and Mason stared at each other. Jeremy and Eva exchanged enormous grins. Finally, Mason said, I have your child. Quinn almost laughed. And I have yours. Silence. Then both adults began speaking. I shouldn't have left. I understand. They stopped. Mason looked at her. I shouldn't have left the way I did. Quinn's heart tightened. I think I understand why. His face became guarded. No. He shook his head. I don't think you do. She does, Dad. Eva stepped forward. I told her. Mason stared. You what? He looked from Eva to Quinn. Quinn reached for his hand. Is it true? Mason searched her face. Then understanding appeared. His shoulders lowered. Yes. His voice was quiet. It's true. Quinn nodded. Everything finally had an explanation. The secrets. His speed. The gold in his eyes. His terror around humans. His sudden disappearances. So many times I wanted to tell you. Mason's voice cracked. I was going to leave the pack. Quinn stared. My family. Everything. He swallowed. For you. But Elliot happened. Quinn finished for him. Yes. His fingers tightened around hers. Revealing our existence to a human is already dangerous. He struggled for words. But telling you and then leaving you alone with that secret. Mason looked down. Mostly Quinn. I didn't trust myself. Her eyes filled. And now, I still don't. He looked toward Jeremy. Especially because you have a child. Quinn understood. No love was worth risking Jeremy's life. Not even Mason. Then Jeremy cleared his throat. Well, everyone turned. I kind of fixed that. Quinn frowned. What? Mason said it at the same time. Eva's face lit up. You fixed it? Jeremy smiled nervously. I met a magician. Quinn stared. Of course. Apparently werewolves were not enough for one morning. A magician named Adrian, Jeremy continued. He grants wishes. Mason's face went pale. Jeremy. He takes something important as payment. Quinn's stomach dropped. What did you do? I wish that Mom and I could safely become werewolves if we wanted. Eva screamed with joy. Oh my God! She bounced. Jeremy, you're a genius. Mason looked horrified. You made a life-altering magical bargain with a stranger without telling either adult responsible for you? Jeremy shrugged. Technically, yes. Mason sounded remarkably like a father. But now we can be together. Jeremy looked at Quinn. You can stay with Mason. His voice softened. I know you love him. Quinn couldn't speak. And Eva and I can still be family. Her 10-year-old son had apparently solved a supernatural relationship crisis by making a deal with a mysterious magician. It was horrifying, absurd, reckless, and completely Jeremy. Quinn looked at Mason. He looked back. No words were necessary. Love. Fear. Hope. A possibility neither had allowed themselves to imagine. Warmth spread through Quinn's chest. Then one emotion overpowered all the others. Maternal fury. Jeremy Davis. Her son immediately winced. You are in very big trouble. Chapter 15. I cannot believe they grounded you. Eva paced across Jeremy's bedroom. You literally solved everything. Jeremy sat on the windowsill. You're a hero. Eva threw up her hands. Parents are unbelievably ungrateful. Jeremy smiled. It was worth it. Eva wasn't supposed to be upstairs. The adults had specifically told her to remain downstairs while they talked. She had waited until nobody was looking and immediately escaped to Jeremy's room. Now the children watched the garden through the window. Quinn and Mason stood below. Their hands were intertwined. Their heads leaned together as they talked quietly. They look happy, Jeremy said. Eva smiled. Maybe happiness was complicated when adults were involved, but this looked like a beginning. Do you think we'll stay together now? Eva asked. I hope so. Jeremy grinned. I can't wait to become a shifter. Eva bounced. I'll teach you everything. Everything? Tracking, using your senses, running. She grinned. You'll be so fast. Then Eva's excitement abruptly vanished. She became still. Jeremy? What? Eva looked down. Her fingers picked at a loose thread on the bedspread. When you made the wish. She hesitated. What did the magician take? Jeremy went quiet. Eva continued. You said there was always a price. Jeremy watched a bird land on the garden fence. The chance of seeing my father someday. Eva's eyes widened. What? Jeremy kept looking outside. He said what I wanted most was the hope that one day my father might come back. Eva swallowed. But, Jeremy... She moved closer. He's your dad. Not really. Jeremy's answer was soft. He left. He watched Mason laugh at something Quinn said. My mom is my parent. His voice became thoughtful. I guess part of me hoped someday I'd know what having a dad felt like. Eva didn't speak for several seconds. Then she threw both arms around him. Jeremy hugged her. Thank you, Eva whispered. When they looked outside again, Mason was kissing Quinn. Eva's eyes widened. Jeremy pointed. You. They both said it at the same time. Then burst into laughter. We actually did it, Eva whispered. Jeremy smiled. They did too. Epilogue. A year later, the garden behind Pinehaven Inn was almost unrecognizable. Tiny lights wound around the branches. White roses bloomed despite the October chill. Rows of chairs faced an arch where Quinn had just promised forever to the man she had never truly stopped loving. The pack filled the grounds. Music drifted through the night. People laughed, danced, celebrated their alpha's marriage. Upstairs, however, Quinn and Mason were alone, and Mason looked more nervous than Quinn had ever seen him. Are you certain? He paced across their bedroom. His shirt hung open. His hair was disordered from repeatedly dragging his fingers through it. Quinn stepped in front of him. Her new wedding ring caught the moonlight. Mason. She placed both hands against his chest. We have discussed this endlessly. I know. I am sure. The past year had changed everything. They rebuilt trust slowly. Quinn learned about the pack. Jeremy learned too. Old wounds had time to close. Mason stopped disappearing behind secrets. Eva spent countless afternoons inside Quinn's studio. Jeremy began joining Mason whenever he could. The four of them had already become a family long before the wedding. This was a choice Quinn had made, with complete understanding. Mason still looked terrified. What if something goes wrong? We found Adrian again, Quinn reminded him. He promised Jeremy's wish worked exactly as intended. I know. You spoke with others who received his magic. Yes. Then trust it. Mason's eyes darkened. Quinn, I've never done this with a human. His voice roughened. I cannot survive hurting you. She touched his face. You won't. This is for us. Quinn smiled. And Jeremy is already demanding to know when he can do it too. Mason groaned. Of course he is. Eva has planned their first run. That softened him. Their children were practically inseparable. Jeremy had changed beneath Mason's attention. He was still thoughtful and careful, but no longer quite so afraid to take up space. Mason listened to him, taught him, showed up for him. Every time. Eva had changed too. Quinn never treated her like an heir first. Inside the art room, Eva could ruin canvases, cover herself in paint, laugh too loudly, and simply be a child. They were already mother and daughter in every way that mattered. Quinn looked into Mason's eyes. We're already a family. Her voice softened. This is only the last step. She kissed him gently. I love you. Mason closed his eyes. When he opened them, something wild shimmered behind the amber. I love you too. His voice was barely more than a breath. More than I ever knew I could love anyone. He kissed her. Slowly at first. Tenderly. When he pulled away, his eyes burned gold. Fangs appeared. Quinn's pulse quickened. She lay back and exposed her throat. Mason froze. Do it. He lowered his face toward her neck. For a moment, he only breathed against her skin. Then his teeth sank in. Pain exploded through Quinn. She gasped. Fire raced through her veins. Every muscle seized. Her bones shifted. Her entire body felt as though it were being broken apart and rebuilt. Mason stayed beside her. His voice anchored her. I'm here. Another wave of pain. Then another. Stay with me, Quinn. She clung to the sound of him. Then suddenly the agony stopped. The world changed. Quinn blinked. She was standing on 4 legs. Thick fur covered her body. Every sound in the inn became impossibly sharp. She smelled wedding cake downstairs, flowers in the garden, the faint movement of mice inside the walls. She could feel music vibrating through the floorboards. A soft whine escaped her. Quinn turned toward the mirror. A silver-streaked wolf stared back. Her eyes. Quinn's eyes. Her tail moved before she consciously told it to. Then something even stranger happened. She felt Mason. Not merely his hand or presence. Him. Inside her mind. Love flooded through the connection. So did his terror. His relief. His joy. Quinn stared at him. What is this? Mason's answer came through the bond as clearly as spoken words. The mate bond. We'll finish it later. His amusement touched her mind. First, you need to run. They slipped outside. 2 wolves raced into the forest beneath the moon. Quinn had never experienced freedom like it. Every scent carried meaning. Every sound had depth. Her powerful new body devoured the ground beneath her paws. Mason ran beside her. Not ahead. Not behind. Beside her. When they finally returned to the inn, both shifted back. Quinn stood before him, breathing hard. The bond pulsed between them. Mason touched her face. How do you feel? Quinn smiled. Alive. She stepped closer. More alive than I've ever felt. Her fingers moved across his chest. Their heartbeats seemed almost synchronized. Quinn. Mason caught her hand. We don't have to complete the bond tonight. I want to. His breath stopped. I want everything, Mason. She kissed him. No more barriers. Another kiss. No more secrets. She smiled against his mouth. Only us. Then Quinn moved toward his neck. Mason shuddered. Her lips brushed his skin. My turn. His hands tightened in her hair. Do it. Quinn bit. Copper touched her tongue. Then magic burned between them. The bond exploded open. His thoughts. Her emotions. His devotion. Her love. Nothing separating them. I love you. She didn't need to say the words aloud. Mason felt them, and his answering love flooded through her. When Quinn pulled away, Mason cupped her face. His eyes glowed with fierce, unmistakable devotion. Forever. He kissed her. Quinn smiled against his mouth. Forever. Downstairs, Jeremy and Eva's laughter rose above the music. Quinn listened. Her son, her daughter, her husband, her family, her pack, her future. After years of losing people she loved, Quinn had finally found a place where nobody was planning to leave. And standing in Mason's arms, connected to him by a bond stronger than either of them had ever imagined, Luna Quinn Davis knew they had finally found their way home.